Left him volume muted. What's up, guys? Max here, back with a brand new episode of the ScuttleButt Show, and it is great to have you here as always. Today, you might notice on your screen right now, I'm joined by a very special guest. His name is Rob Sweetman. Rob, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. I have a little bit of feedback. How do I stop that?
Oh yeah, I think you might have to rock headphones. Actually, now that we're live, I'm hearing because I'm hearing are you watching the show on YouTube? If you can mute your YouTube.
Okay, there we go.
There we go. Okay, we got it. Technical difficulties on a live show, no problem. How are you doing, Rob?
I'm great. Gosh, it's been a couple years since we hung out last time.
Yeah, so I wanted to give, so everybody who's watching right now who doesn't know, I want to say what's up to everybody in the chat. Thanks for jumping in and getting on the show early. So I want to say, Rob and I go back. We were just talking about it just a second ago. We go back like probably 7 years to when we were in the Navy together. Rob, you were a Navy SEAL, and I was a Navy Special Warfare Enabler Tech Support Person. And we went to Iraq together in 2015. That was that deployment with where we were out there starting to deal with the ISIS problem and working on the front lines up in the north and creating a bunch of safe space around for the Iraqis to start gaining ground back. And now we're here today, and you are well, actually, why don't you tell everyone a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I joined in 2010 and got out in 2018. So I did 8 years in the Navy. Most of that was in the first 2 years was just making it through BUDS training, SQT, language school, all the regular stuff. So I did 2 deployments with SEAL Team 7. Both were pretty safe. There weren't any near misses like some of our friends unfortunately had. And then my last 2 years I spent at Advanced Training Command, where I focused on TSO and some of the softer skills within the teams. But when I got out, we had just lost Ryan Larkin. That took a pretty big toll on my heart, and I was depressed about that for a while. And so the way that I kind of pulled myself out of that was to look at his situation and what I could do, what I could take away from that to sort of make a positive impact on the world. And I did end up going to grad school and started focusing on sleep science. And I mean, gosh, that was 3.5 years ago when that whole journey started. Now, last time you and I talked, we were presenting some technology for a sleep pod, which we're still working on. We just finished the housing at our factory down in Tecate, Mexico, which, if you guys are familiar with San Diego, it's not too far across the border. But now today, as we sit here, about a year ago, we shifted our focus to something a little bit smaller. It's easier for folks to use, less expensive. It's like a light and sound machine on steroids. So we're going to market with that this summer, and it's been a wild ride. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah. So I just want to let everybody know, I apologize if you hear some noise in the background. There's people working in the house today. It should be probably going on and off, but on your screen right now, if you're watching on YouTube, it is, you can see the website, which is existtribe.com, and it's linked in the description of this video. And the new product is right here, and you're taking pre-orders right now for this thing. So people are on the screen are seeing it. Your slogan is, "We're making sleep cool." And we see that 10% of net proceeds go to veteran brain health treatment. So can you just tell us, before we get into, before we even get into talking about the Navy and, your whole process with this company, there's a couple things I want people to know. One is, if you can just, since I'm showing it on the screen right now, if you can just talk about a little bit what this specific product is, and if people want to pre-order it, what they can expect and where they can go to do it, so we can get that word out and people can go check out the website. And then and I want to show them the YouTube video from a couple of years ago.
Love it. Yeah, so the site is existtribe.com. We chose those words tribe because we wanted to build a community. So yeah, we're releasing a product, but the big strength in what we're doing is the community behind it. We're going to start releasing things like next week challenge that we're going to launch in the fall. It's called the Yoga Sleep Node. It's a smart device. It goes in your house. It sets routines, and it literally is the safest light in the world for your eyes at nighttime. We all know that blue light is an issue. So what this does is it keeps your circadian rhythms in sync, and you don't have to wear anything. You don't have to do anything. You just set it up the first time, and it just continually repeats that automation until you change it again. We're going to market in July. We're going to do a big Indiegogo campaign. So the pre-orders are open. If you guys want to jump on there and go ahead and click pre-order, we'd love that. We haven't actually launched the marketing campaign, and so this is super early pre-orders. And for that, what we're doing for our early backers, the folks that really believe in us, we're going to put a numbered and engraved placard on that first run. And then, of course, backed our project first, they're going to get the product first. So it's really exciting. I think this is our chance. This is our chance to make an impact on sleep health. So I'm honored.
So you and I have had a couple episodes on the ScuttleButt Show before. You were one of the first guests I ever have had on the show. I actually consider myself super, lucky because I don't have really sleep problems. I sleep well, and I realize what a gift that is. I don't take that for granted. But your motivation for why you got into this business, you mentioned it before, and we can talk about that a little bit more, is very honorable. And I want to get to some questions in the chat too. But before I do, I want to show the audience. I'm going to play this video really quick. Well, I'm just going to play a couple segments of it. This is on the ScuttleButt Show YouTube channel. You guys can go find this and watch the entire video. But this is from April 4th, 2019, when you presented at the Start R event at UCSD to attempt to win a grant for some money for the Sleep Pod. And I just want to play a couple clips here really quick. So this is 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago exactly. So this is back in San Diego. And we were out here, let's see. You're wearing the same shirt that you were wearing that day. We've got that right here.
Right.
And then if we go down here to the end, me and my buddy Scotty were in there voting for you, big time, casting as many votes as we could. And let's see, let's get to when they announced the winner here. Existential Technologies. And I've got you going up to accept the award here.
Rob won the prize.
So we were lucky we got to capture that moment on camera. So I can't believe that was over 2 years ago that we actually did that. So we've been following your journey since early on, and it's great to see that we've come here today with you taking a product to market. That's so cool. How has that journey been? I mean, are you okay? Because this is like so much work and so much like stress to undertake. How has that been?
It's ridiculous how many different things you have to juggle in entrepreneurship. But I'll tell all of our veteran listeners out there that really being a veteran puts you way ahead of the pack in terms of skill set for entrepreneurship. You don't have to go get an MBA. That does help solve a bunch of problems before they arrive. But you don't need that. You have the core skills as a veteran, discipline, showing up on time, work ethic, camaraderie. I mean, just the list goes on and on. We talked about this last night at an event with Sean Haggerty and the university. where we talked about this sort of thing, because it is tough. Entrepreneurship is tough. If you ask my wife, I pulled the plug in January with my job. If you ask my wife, I mean, it, it's stressful. It's stressful, but it's worth it, and it will pay off. You know, we're doing what the Exist Tribe team is doing, what we believe in, and there's just a whole lot of good feelings that come from doing, from following something that's your passion. So
That's that's obviously true. If anybody who's stepped into business for themselves probably knows that very much, is that you kind of, and I used to say this in the Navy too when I was at SRT, which is I've never worked so hard and wanted to be there at the same time. You know what I mean? When you're doing what you love, you'll work the hardest you've ever worked in your life, longest hours, basically doing it 24 hours a day, never really being not working. And yet you love every second of it. That's the great part about, you know, entrepreneurship or finding yourself in a job that you really love, like the last job that I was lucky enough to have in the Navy. So so you were a SEAL, you were a Navy SEAL, and how did that, for people listening, I know people probably have a lot of questions about that. How did that even happen for you? How did you end up in the Navy? And by the way, guys, there's 2 older episodes with Rob on the podcast that you can go listen to get more in depth on this stuff.
Well, so a lot of luck, honestly. You know, I didn't join until I was 29. I think I showed up at Bud's just as I was turning 30 or something like that. And I felt like, you know, I was a bit smarter than the 17, 18-year-old, 19-year-olds. I could play the game a little bit better. But boy, did my joints hurt. I had to drink a lot of water. I had to stretch meticulously all day, every day. And I just got lucky because there's some guys that went through that were better than me, and they never got to put that trident on their chest because of an injury. Saw a lot of neck injuries, shoulders blown out, hips blown out, because the Buds training is just tough as hell. So I did get lucky to make it through without any significant injuries. I did have quadruple hernia surgery afterwards, but that was manageable. Then, you know, going into Arabic training, that was, um, I mean, I must have been the worst student in the entire class, but it really challenged me in a way that I hadn't tapped into that part of my brain in a long time. And so this journey through SEAL Team 7, had a real rough new guy experience. You know, I did my best, but the truth was there's a lot better SEALs out there than I ever was. So I just tried to do my best. I learned a lot. There's quite a bit of discipline that comes with the military, and especially with the SEAL teams. It never did get easier. We always hoped that after Buds, the cold and wet, we always hope to get better, but nope, that's the job that you signed up for. So then, you know, after those 2 cycles with SEAL Team 7, I kind of had a chance to take a knee, so to speak, and I went back into more of an admin role. So as you transition from sort of the operator to sort of like giving back, they put you on a rotation where you go to TRADET or ATC or BTC, one of these training commands, and you kind of give back to the community. So you have to go through a master trainer specialist program. So you do that, you get your master trainer specialist or whatever it's called, and then you show up. And what I found myself doing, and this is what led me to where we're at today, was I had a chief that wanted me to do one thing, and I struggled with that. And so eventually we just got into it, and I went over there into the corner and just did what I thought was right for the program. And at the time, that was extremely challenging. I mean, there's so much pressure to work up the enlisted ladder, and there's so much pressure to fit into the group. So at that time, I really wanted to focus on revolutionizing the course. And for years, they had been asking for things like COTS, commercial off-the-shelf stuff, but it had never been implemented. So I used that time to build out the curriculum without going into too much detail on the sensitive program, but I took my time to build out the curriculum that people had asked for, and I delivered on that, and people were super appreciative. Now I think the program is completely based on that original work that I did. So it's all COTS, which is kind of weird to think that I had an impact, right? So I took that passion for electronics and building stuff and solving problems. And when we lost Ryan, I just focused all of my effort. You'll laugh. I'll see if I can get you a picture. Uh, our first concept was a rack and stack sleep pod. It was supposed to go 1 by 2. You can stack it and put it on the 463 Lima platform for any of those flight guys out there. So it could, click, click, click into the C-130. We're hoping that we could build something that guys could deploy with, so they're a little safer. Uh, you know, um, Biological warfare, air cleaning and all that stuff. But I wrote 6 proposals to the government, one directly to SOCOM, one to the Army, a couple of different perspectives, different approaches, and the unanimous response was that, hey, sounds like a great idea, but who are you? Um, they they only want to talk to companies that have been around for a while. So I'll stop there. That's what's brought us here today.
Well, I think people might be wondering, Ryan's been mentioned a couple times. People might be wondering, what kind of happened with Ryan. If you want to talk about it a little bit, whatever you're comfortable with, what that story is and how it kind of inspired the direction you took this journey, this business.
Yeah. So the business is focused on sleep health in general for the public. We really do still have a focus on veterans. Christian Gustafson, I'm not sure if he's joining in on the chat, but he's working on our emergence in the VA. But this whole thing for me personally started with Ryan. So Ryan Larkin, he never saw 30 years old. He was an incredible SEAL. He was a sniper, a medic. I mean, you just couldn't ask for much more out of an operator. His dad was a SEAL, so there's a bit of a legacy there. And you'll hear different stories depending on who you ask. But my personal story is that I saw Ryan start to go down a path of instability with his sleep. The Navy was issuing Ambien at the time, and he was eating Ambien like it was candy. Some alcohol involved, and you can imagine just having friends that do this in the military. The sleep just wasn't there for him, and I watched this whole thing unfold, not knowing what I know now, just observing. And when you don't get good sleep, then you have to wake up to caffeine and keep yourself alert with artificial ways. But I think Dr. Mishra is in the chat. I didn't know, Doctor, if you wanted to make a comment on that, but in our previous discussions, he'll tell you that all of his patients, when the sleep starts to go downhill, all of the symptoms are exacerbated, and when the sleep improves, all the symptoms are relieved. Sleep is just pivotal in mental health. And in this particular situation, what we saw was Ryan just started to slip, man. His mind was just not completely there. He snapped on the Commodore. You know how that went. They sent him sailing down the river, which was a damn shame. And I watched this whole thing unfold. And a couple of, after he left the Navy, fortunately, his dad came down to help him through the process because they were really trying to nail him. After the Navy, it wasn't very long before it all just caught up to him, and he hung himself in his dad's basement. So I took that to heart, and a lot of people don't like to highlight situations like that. They just like to highlight the heroes that died in combat and that sort of thing. But Ryan was a good dude, and it is sad, but it made an impact on my life. And Frank and I both, his dad, are kind of going in our different directions focused on TBI, traumatic brain injury, and I'm focused on the sleep. But this has given us the energy and the direction and the motivation to create something amazing. And now here we are. We built this stuff out of raw science, out of what the science is telling us. And I think this is our shot. I think this is our shot to make make a difference in the world, just make an impact on sleep health. So,
yeah, thank you for sharing that. That story. It's getting a lot of people are showing support in the comments to what you're doing, and there's actually a couple of things that I want to touch on. One is about the military, and I talk about this on the show all the time. If there's people out there who are about to join the military, or veterans out there, active duty people listening, the military does a horrible job at treating the symptom and not the cause. So if the symptom is veterans behaving, misbehaving, outbursts, something like that, anger, violence, alcoholism, the cause could be, I don't know, maybe 300 days a year of travel, combat deployment after combat deployment, 10 years of honorable service with asking nothing in return of the military and just getting lashings basically. And then you finally have a moment where you slip and they crush you and kick you out, and it's horrible. It's horrible. So I'm always trying to advocate to the military, like, it's time to stop looking at what this person did and maybe why they did it, and maybe stop condemning everybody so quickly. And we just covered a story a couple weeks ago about the Navy or about the military reviewing a lot of bad conduct discharges and seeing if they were preceded by psychological trauma, deployment, PTSD, sleep issues, stuff like that, and maybe overturn a lot of them. But for people who, unfortunately, like Ryan, it's way too late, and it's horrible. And then you said that even though this story has a deep emotional impact, personal connection to you, you still went on to say you're looking at the science, which is, I think, so important. You have to emotion is the motivator, but science is the results, and it's great that you're pursuing it from that approach and expressing it that way too. It just to me expresses that you're the right person for the job to be getting this done. And if Warcom or whoever doesn't want to listen to you, screw them. They have no idea. They probably have no idea what they're talking about in reality. They're hyper focused on one thing, and it's their mission accomplishment, and that's it. And they probably have no idea what you know about this issue.
They are listening at some level, but the group of people who are more concerned with the health and wellness are typically smaller. And I won't get into the politics because I don't want to get myself in trouble, but I'll say this. At the time, that particular leadership removed the mental health professional that was taking care of Ryan. And so there was no service for SEAL Team 5 and SEAL Team 7 at that time. Just a joke. So, I did want to say something to the veteran listeners out there. Sleep deprivation it will get to you. We have something at Naval Postgraduate School we call circadian scarring. And, we operate for so many years that we just think it's normal. And that level fatigue just becomes normal. But actually it's not the correct way to live your life. There are guidelines on what you should be doing for sleep. Sleep is if you get good sleep, it's going to increase your testosterone. It's going to increase your mental capacity, your emotional intelligence, your ability to read facial expressions, your immune system function. I'm not going to go too into the weeds on the neurological function of sleep, but it's a big deal. So there's that, right? That circadian scarring is real. And most folks that have operated, as a veteran, you're going to have some, muster times, right? Some people just can't get that out of their system. And then when we look at PTSD, that is a real thing. And, how each person's situation is different, and how you remember a certain situation and how deeply that impacts you has everything to do with your nutrition, how much sleep you had before the event. But those echoes in your memory, it's a real thing. And there are solutions out there. So just don't think that you're alone and that goes unheard. And then I would say that some of the leading research, if you guys want to dig in on brain science, is this battle between the amygdala response within your brain, which is like fight or flight, which is animalistic. It's what saves your life when you're getting shot at. And then the prefrontal cortex, which helps you make good choices and decision. You think through things, and think of it like the amygdala having been in the gym on steroids. This is why you can hear a car alarm like a mile away while your wife or your spouse or whatever is fast asleep. That's because you're tuned in to these things. Your situational awareness has been conditioned to be able to pick up on these things. And so that is a real thing. There are ways that you can overcome that, but just acknowledging that that's a real thing, and that does carry stress. That adds years to your life. So those are three things I wanted to mention. And, I'm always here to talk about that stuff and point people in the right direction.
Yes. Speaking of that, is there a place that people can find you? Is existtribe.com the best place to find you? If people do want to ask you questions about the product or, thank you for your service or anything like that?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm an open book. My email is rob@existtribe.com. I think that's on the website too, or maybe we have a support email that'll eventually get back to me. But yeah, I'm here with the right mission. I think, we have to have a bottom line. We have to have something to keep the lights on with this company. But otherwise, we're very focused on social impact. We've built this thing from the ground floor up, just with trying to do the right thing. That's with each person in the team, the mission, the vision, the way that we do business, the way that we respect each other. If you just sit in our meetings, you'd laugh. It's a little bit Zen Buddha, right? Totally chill, because we respect people, and we're not a money hungry, like crazy mission driven company, like some other companies that I've had contact with. So,
yeah. Justin in the chat says he barely sleeps with chronic pain. And when he does get a good night's sleep, he's thankful and he has a good day. Good sleep equals a good day. It's, it's true. It's really, if you've ever just had, even in military training, right? After a few days of no sleep, Hell Week or SEER School is another example. You are pretty sleep deprived. You start hallucinating. You start behaving very oddly. And actually, when you and I were in the Honor Foundation together, that's how we met. And actually, no, wait, we weren't. We met on deployment or pre-deployment, but we went through the Honor Foundation as well. And and while we were in the Honor Foundation, there was somebody there who will remain anonymous, but talked about going through a period of days with no sleep and, anxiety and depression and insomnia that led ultimately to a suicide attempt. And it's common to see events like this preceded by sleeplessness. You can look it up, and people have done historical examples of this. You can look up experiments where people have tried to stay awake for 5 days, 10 days, 20 days, a month, something like that. And they go totally insane. So it sounds really scary, but all this like fear, that we're talking about here, things to be afraid of not sleeping. There are things you can do to take control of that back a little bit, and including your new line of products like the yoga, the yoga, oh my gosh, the yoga sleep node, yoga sleep node, and then the yoga pod, and they're coming out. But then what are some other things that people could do right now today that you recommend for sleeping? Is meditation something you recommend? We were just kind of talking about it.
Well, yeah. So those of you that are into meditation or have considered that or would consider it, yeah, it's totally legit. But for those of you that are like, that's too soft, I don't want to do anything like that, you can focus on things like box breathing. Box breathing for me has been transformational. It's surprising how much I was shallow breathing, probably from a little bit of just a panic state when I got out and transition. I still had a lot of paranoia and a lot of anxiety. So for me, box breathing was a very, militaristic way to get a certain type of function out of your body. So box breathing is just simply, there's four sides to a square. That's our box. And on each side, we pick amount of time. So if it's 5 seconds, we breathe in and we hold it for 5 seconds. And then we breathe out for 5 seconds. And then we hold it for 5 seconds. And you just do that until your mind calms down. And for me, I like to try to push it to about 10 seconds. And sometimes I feel I have a pretty low heart rate. So sometimes I feel a little lightheaded. And that's kind of good because not that I'm recommending trying to, asphyxiate yourself, but it takes my mind away from the things that kind of fill my brain throughout the day. And I find that to be really effective before bed because I'm worrying about, oh, what are we going to do with this meeting or this thing tomorrow, or is this manufacturer's behind schedule or whatever. I'm thinking about that stuff when I go to bed. So it's absolutely critical to be able to calm down. And I think Dr. Mishra is adding some comments on So Calm Mind. He's got some great resources as a clinical psychiatrist. He's super helpful. But yeah, calming down the mind, box breathing helps out, but you must find that state of tranquility before you attempt to go to bed, because otherwise you're just going to sit there and turn in your bed when I got out of the military, I would sit there in bed for, like an hour or whatever, trying to sleep, just couldn't fall asleep. So.
I sorry, got my volume turned down here to prevent the background noise. I want to take a second here because you were just talking about So Calm Mind in the chat, Gaurav Mishra. I wanted to point out that you are not doing this alone, right? So you have a team. You've partnered with some great people. I think we've kind of hinted at that a little bit. But if you really quick could just give a shout out to the team that you're working with now, who's currently a part of the team, and who's helping you along the way, and kind of who else might be responsible for your success. I think it's always good that people know kind of who is the background. If you're the face, who is the background to make all this possible?
Yeah, I think Jake McLeod was going to join tonight. So Jake, you'll laugh because you know that I can't do this alone. And, Rob Sweetman at the helm. I just have all the energy and I focus on driving this train forward, but we have some real experts on the team. To build a product is very challenging. Terry Quinn he was the vice president of operations over at Qualcomm. He's our COO. So, and I hate these titles, but we're kind of in this funding / product launch phase. So we have to be able to communicate those roles. So he does operations, supply chain. Ben O'Hanlon, amazing. He was the president of C-Level for 20 something years. Just a rock star. He knows in and out technology. He's our chief technology officer. And he's really helped change the game on building the PCB, the circuit board that goes inside and allows all this magic to happen. And he has a great team under him that's working around the clock on software and hardware and all that stuff. Jocelyn Williams, I'm not sure if she had a chance to join us tonight. She's our financial officer. She's been in the biz for like 20 years doing this stuff. She's amazing. She's, managed an $80 million account at a publicly traded company. So these people are the reason why we're going to be successful with this launch. But there's also a huge team behind us. I mentioned Dr. Mishra. He's the chief behavioral officer over down at San Ysidro, I believe it's at. And so Dr. Mishra is a clinical psychiatrist. He's an advisor for our company. He's very, very focused on helping people with sleep and with mental health. So it's pivotal to have him on the team and guiding us. Also, Janelle Norton, if she's on the call, huge shout out to you. She's an iRest and yoga expert. She has her own studio. She's been pivotal in shaping the way that we approach, these human factors engineering. We also have a ton of people that help out the team. We have a half dozen people that are consistently working on the team. Justin Harris does our 3D design. He just rolled out with an amazing clip this morning. My wife helps out with design. Mimi, I love you, babe. Let's see. Yonita is just basically makes my life easy, manages everything, handles everything. So not to go, get a little prolixic here on the explanation of all the team, but and there probably is some people that I left out, so I apologize if I did. But really solid team, and just so you guys know, everybody has been a volunteer up until this point. We hope that one day we have a paid role, but we've been, scraping pennies together to make the perfect product without selling out to a venture capitalist. We have no money from external sources that influence the way that we're doing this. We're doing this for the right reasons. And so that's why we really need a big showing in July. And if people want to pre-order at existtribe.com, the yoga sleep note, we encourage people to do that. It's just like $50 for the down payment. And then we'll give you the cheapest price once we go to market. So that's where we're at.
That's great, dude. That's awesome. As you were starting to name names, I was like, I just started thinking, what a big endeavor this has been. And I want to say great job to your team. And while you were saying that, I just thought to myself, I don't know, I started to get like this burst of energy thinking about, it's been a while since I've thought about what it was like to be us in 2015, getting ready to go to Iraq, not knowing what to expect, not knowing where we're going to be. We're all getting to know each other. We go on this crazy deployment. I run into you in the middle of Erbil one day, like when I got up there, and we ran into each other at like the hub near the airport. And I don't know, like the hair on my arm stand up, just flashing back to this, because I just want to say, you have always stood out to me as one of the smartest people, one of the most forward-thinking people. Like anytime I would talk to you, I just like want to brag on you for a second of just what the experience was like of knowing you. Anytime, there are a few people I've met in the military who anytime I talk to them, I'm just like, I've totally lost track of what you're talking about. It's over my head, but I'll follow you anywhere. You know what I mean? Like you just had that, you're a visionary person, you're a futurist person, and it's easy to see from talking to you and from knowing you back then. Now when I like put the whole big picture of 7 years is crazy to think about. 7 years of knowing you, it's your energy and your vision and the way you just exemplify confidence and clarity when you speak. Even if I don't understand the technical stuff you're saying, it's just clear that you know what you're talking about, like that you're going to get it done. So I just think you're doing a great job, dude. I'm just proud to know you right now is just how I feel. When you were talking about the people that you've brought together, like building a team is magic. It's magic what happens when you build a team. That building the team part is one of the hardest things you'll ever do, is building a good team. But then once you do, what happens next is magical. And I just think you're doing a freaking great job, Rob. A great job.
I'm so humbled. I mean, I don't know what to say. Thanks, Max. I'm not sure if all of that is true, but thank you for saying it. I really appreciate it.
No, well, look, dude, the way I see it from where I'm sitting, you, like you said, joined the Navy after you enlisted in the Navy, after already being educated, already having a career. You go to BUD/S, you get it done, you become a SEAL, you do deployments, and then with a family, you make the choice to get out of the Navy to go try something. And that's its own type of courage. You know what I mean? That's a whole different type of courage to go take something you really believe in and say, well, here I go. It's now, I'm going to do it. Because there's got to be a lot of fear, right? I mean, you tell me, there's got to be some level of fear leaving the security of the military to go take on this adventure that you're going on, at the point in life that you were at. Am I off, or was there some of that?
No, it's an insane amount of stress. And what I kind of tell my wife and kids, and what I'm really feeling inside are two different things. So if anybody's on the fence about the meditation thing, you can go ahead and jump over the fence and try it out, because meditation keeps me sane. I mean, sometimes I just have really dark thoughts and I'm insecure and I just don't think I can do it. I mean, almost daily I question, what am I really doing? And, because it's tough. We're pre-revenue company. I think we're going to do a ton of sales this summer. We're already slated to do a ton of sales because people are begging for what we're building and offering here. But as it stands now, know, things are tight. I have this conversation with my wife all the time, and I'm sure any of the other entrepreneurs in the audience, you know what I'm talking about. It's tough. You have to provide for your family, and at the same time, I'm trying to build this company for the right reasons. So I have to do a lot of stuff to make money and to, just make ends meet. But I know that it'll pay off in the end, right? When I was sitting there in the ocean, cold and just sad and miserable, that's what kept me going, is the vision of what maybe I could be.
Wow. I just have to think about that for a second because that's really good. The vision of what you could be.
Yeah.
It's if there's one thing I've learned in my life and from meeting successful people, thanks to the Honor Foundation and, just being a part of, Naval Special Warfare for the period of time that I was, and now being a little bit older myself, and being in my, phase of life that I'm in, is, I don't mean this in a negative way. I mean this in a positive way, but you never get there where you go, I'm done now. You know what I mean? There's you never get to, you don't graduate buds and then you go, I'm done. Like you said, it never got easier. Right. And then you go, you finish the Navy, and what did you do? You started a business, and it never got easier. And now you're going to go to launch with a product, and you're going to succeed at that, but it doesn't end. You know what I mean? You just become more confident you can do it again, I think. So now you're doing this, you're succeeding again, and it never gets less stressful.
Well, I mean, so if you guys want to follow me on LinkedIn, I'm pretty active on LinkedIn, and I try to post positive stuff. But this one post that I did today, you're making me think of it right now, because the post was about know your worth. And the quote was, you must find the courage to leave the table if respect is no longer being served. And that kind of embraces the message that I want to send out, but I think I can expand on that a little bit, because you're exactly right, Max. It's not about some destination or some mountain that you've conquered. I mean, there is a bit of that. You can talk about the things that you've done, but are we really just serving our ego there? I think the journey is where happiness is at. And that's why I always encourage people, no matter how difficult it may seem, to follow your passion. If you have a dream, as long as it's not negative and terrible, follow your passion. Do the things that make you fulfilled in life. And if you don't know what that is, it's time to do some soul searching and figure out what it is that makes you tick. And if you do those things, then you'll find that the journey to whatever goal it is actually where you find happiness and enjoyment. And I think the money will follow. So,
yeah, that's beautiful, man. That's beautiful. The money is like, when you're running a business, the money is necessary, but the money will never give you, maybe for some people, but I don't even believe it. The money will never give you the happiness that just living a good life will. You know what I mean? Like living a fulfilling life. If you are chasing money alone, I don't think you'll ever be happy. But if you live a fulfilling life and do the things that you care about, and the money then happens, it can make you feel better, I guess, and relax a little bit on some things that are obviously important. But it's never, I love what you said about the journey. It's so true. Like this, I'm doing YouTube now. I didn't predict this for myself, but I'm doing YouTube now. And I've been doing this for 3 years for free. You know what I mean? I've been doing this for 3 years for free because I love the journey and I love it every day. And honestly, I'm like getting emotional just hearing you talk, because it's like, when I have the opportunity to come on with somebody on the show that I know and have known for a long time, it's crazy to watch everyone going through their lives and doing great things. It's just special. It makes me happier to see you at the point that you're at with this company right now on the show than any amount of donations or subscribers makes me. You know what I mean? This is the fulfilling part of this, of what I'm doing for me. Absolutely. And I don't know, I'm just, like I said, I'm just so happy. I'm so proud to see, this all happening. And I've been a supporter from the beginning, because It's just obvious that you deserve it. The reason why you're doing it is noble, and it's everything about it is just you're a rock star. Everything about it is rocking right now. Really quick, if you don't mind, I want to read a couple comments
Yeah, go ahead.
about sleep. Jacob, who wrote a great book called An Officer and a Man, said, being forced to run on no sleep is like training in a dojo where injuries are expected, so you learn how to fight through it when actually you're just creating permanent injuries that'll be back later. Justin said, asks a question here to put you on the spot. Have you ever done holotropic breathing or didgeridoo for breathing? Or have you ever heard of those techniques?
No,
Didgeridoo.
I'll write that down and check it out.
Then I'll make sure I
Thank you.
send it to you. And Justin then said, I'd follow this dude out of the helo for sure. His words and thoughts are super legit. So you're
Thanks.
making a good impact here. And then people might also see you in the chat sometimes. Rob Sweetman, if you've ever seen the name in the chat, dropping comments, now you know, can put a face to the name. And like I said, there's other episodes with Rob on the podcast that are great as well. So my wife has a great saying, because she works so hard and she never lets it show. Like what you were saying, like when you talk to your family, you kind of don't put the stress on, you don't want to put the stress on them. I'm the opposite. I'm like, I like to vent, you know what I mean? Like not in a sympathetic, not like looking for sympathy, but I just love to, to vent. It just feels good. And I don't want anybody to like feel bad for me. So I talk to my wife, I'm like, man, today just sucked, all this stuff. It's so crazy. Things are so hard. But it just helps my mental health, I guess, myself. But she says she's like a duck. And if you've ever seen a duck in a pond, they're just chilling on the surface, but under the water, their legs are going 1,000 miles an hour, right? So on the surface, you're the duck who's like just wading around the water, but underwater, you're paddling for dear life, trying to just keep floating along. That's how it is for a lot of people running the show, running business, is you put on the calm face on the outside, but part of you is like freaking out.
Well, I can't tell Mimi all of the risk. I hope she's not watching. I can't tell her all of the risk that I encounter every day and all of the tough choices. But I think what you said is real important, Max. I mean, you got to have a way to vent. You have to have a safe place where it's okay to be yourself. I think it's too easy to get caught up in what the world wants you to be these days. And, wearing that mask, especially as a veteran coming back into civilian society, I think sometimes we feel like we all have to wear these masks to fit in. There's just so much social pressure. So I think, if you don't have a way to vent and sort of like communicate in that safe place, then that's probably something that you should look for. So, it sounds like you already have it. So that's great.
Yeah, it's good. You have those people that when we were in THF, I'm sure this is people know this. This is just where I learned it was in THF, of having those trusted mentors who you can tell anything to and they'll tell you the truth, and it could be somebody it could be somebody you don't know, that via online correspondence only or something like that. But somebody that you trust will tell you the truth, whether you want to hear it or not, and somebody that you can tell your problems to and they'll just listen. You know what I mean? Everyone should have that person identified in their minds. Maybe let them know that's who they are to you, that like, hey, I'm looking for somebody to have some guidance from, a confidant, somebody that, is willing to do that for you is always a good tip. So I had a question for you, kind of getting back on track of the business a little bit, is I saw that 10% of proceeds go to the SEAL Future Foundation. Can you talk about the SEAL Future Foundation, what that is?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a bunch of good organizations out there, nonprofits. Had a lot of success with working with the Navy SEAL Foundation and Semper Fi Fund and America's Fund and SEAL Family Foundation. But we chose the SEAL Future Foundation because I have a pretty good relationship with several of the people there, and I really believe in their mission. They've got some really good stuff going on. But where we specifically want to make an impact is once we go to market in July with this product, we hope to do a bunch of sales and bring in revenue to the company, and all of you can be a part of that. A portion of that profit is going to go back to the SEAL because they're putting money into veteran brain treatment. So guys out there that are struggling, there are resources, and you can reach out to me or directly to SEAL Future Foundation. If you want to look at some of the resources, they've got some hookups for people. If it's not SEAL Future Foundation, there's other organizations we can point you towards that'll hook you up with all types of cool benefits. But this particular one, we're focusing on brain treatment, and there's some really cutting edge brain treatments out there that they're literally doing FDA studies right now. Periodically, you'll see posts on different types of brain treatment that are getting notoriety. So not to go into detail on the specifics of the treatment, but they are fixing people, and it's incredible. And I just want to support that because I don't want another situation like Ryan. If we can prevent stuff like that, whether it's through, a sleep device or through other resources, that's what we're here to do. Right. So.
Yeah. I just want to this might be a good time to take a minute to remind everybody that in the description of all my videos is the contact information for the Veteran Crisis Hotline. So if you do find yourself in a situation where you've gone days without sleep, or you're finding yourself succumbing to insane stress or PTSD or anxiety and depression, and you happen to hear, one of my shows, one of these episodes, I always have that information linked down there, so you can go grab that, maybe take a snapshot of it with your phone so you have it in your photo log. And then you can always have at least one resource 24 hours a day that is doing their best to provide treatment to veterans. And I know there's some horror stories out there about it, but I know there's people on the other end of those phones who care. So you can always try to give them a shout. And you can always reach out to me too. All my contact info is on the screen right now in the description of this video as well. Rob, we're coming up on the 1 hour mark here of the show, where we're going to have to wrap up in about 7 minutes. Do you have anything that you want to get to that we haven't gotten to yet, that you want the audience to know about your mission, about your business, about you, the teams, whatever you want to talk about?
Well, I had a really challenging year last year, and I think all of us did, with COVID and just everybody stressing out. But for me, right before COVID, I got pretty down on myself and this entire mission. Sometimes you just feel like a failure, and you're not going to be able to do what you think you're going to do. And so I got weak, and I really started to panic. And so I started to look at, well, what can I do that's better than this? And well, I guess I'll go out and get a job. So I joined a group of folks that I was very close with, and an excellent company. I went in there and I worked, and I did all right. And so the moral of this story is, I worked there for like 15 months, and it was a pretty good time. It's a lot of long hours at this particular company. But then after some time, I reflected on, well, now I'm making a ton of money. They're paying me ridiculous money. But at the end of the day, we spent all the money, and I still wasn't feeling fulfilled, and I missed my dream. And we continued to work on this project. I was moonlighting. I was working at nighttime and on weekends to push the envelope, get this thing done. But then in January of this year, I finally had the courage to quit. And I got to tell you, that was invigorating, stressful. My wife thought I was crazy. Why am I giving up this perfectly good job with all these benefits, and you make all this money? But to a lot of people out there, I'm trying to send this signal that you can do it. And it's not going to be easy, but if you have a passion and you want to follow that passion, just get your budget in order, figure out the way that you can do it, kind of put all these things, like reasons why you can't do something, aside, and look at the reasons why you can, and then do an ORM, do your risk mitigation plan, but then do it. And don't do it tomorrow, do it today. And that's what I did in January. I put in my letter of resignation. I left in a friendly manner and still talked to all those folks, but just had to follow my passion. And that's what we're doing now.
I think turn my volume back up. I think that's great. It's a powerful message for sure of you're not going to find, if there's something that in your heart is what you're supposed to be doing, you're not going to scratch that itch in any other way, and you owe it to yourself to, in my opinion, this is just in my opinion, acknowledging that the risks of failure are real. People always love to say failure is not an option. I always say, of course, failure is an option. Like, failure is always an option. And there's a good chance of it. You'll probably fail many times along the way for everything that you do. You know what I mean? Failure is it's common. I say you just fail again and again on your way to eventually succeeding. It's not success after success. It's failure after failure until you succeed. So acknowledging that there's a lot of real risks involved and you have to take care of your responsibilities and your family and commitments and all that. I think everyone owes it to themselves to chase a dream. I've done it on a few occasions. I've done it many times. I think you've only got one life to live and only so much time to live it. And that time's not guaranteed either. And so if there's something that you want to do, you shouldn't wait another day. You should start taking little steps to get there. At least little steps. At least Google how to do the thing you want to do. If you have this man, I really want to write a book. Have you even Googled it? Have you even Googled how to write a book? Have you done anything to take the first steps on your journey to chase your dream? And in your case, very similar. You've accomplished multiple entire careers. You've had you've had whole things that you've done and put behind you. That they're a part of you now, but that you've put behind you, like a career, a Navy career as a Navy SEAL, and now you're on what I think is your third thing. In addition to having a great, beautiful family, big family that you're taking care of, and which is obviously the most important thing of all. And you're still out there chasing a dream. And yeah, I don't know if that made any sense, but I think that it's fantastic. Yeah.
Well, there's three big reasons why I am doing this business, from a 10,000 foot view. One is I want to be able to spend more time with my family. I want the flexibility to go on vacations or play with my kids, or have my kids actually help me out with certain operations in the business so we can just be involved at that level. I also am a big proponent of, equality in today's day and age. And so I think one of the big things that we're starting to lose in the United States is equality of wealth. And so I'm a big believer in the people that break their back to make this company having ownership in this company. And that's what we're doing. And then also the last thing is serving the customer and being focused on the people, the whole reason why we created this company, and making sure that they have the experience that we hope. So that's fulfilling for me. So.
Well, I'm excited to get my hands on one of these sleep nodes so I can check it out and let the ScuttleButt Show audience know what the real deal is with it. And you've got a ton of support in the comments as well, which is great. So I hope some people have a chance to go check out the sleep node and check out your website. If you guys do, I'd love to hear about it. So make sure you send me a message, tag me on Instagram if you guys pick up the sleep node. And Rob, is there so we're at the end of the hour here. And it really flew by. I thought we would have more time to get to some other stuff. But as always, every ScuttleButt Show episode just flies by and the time's up before we know it. So is there anything you would like to leave everyone with before we get going, besides obviously going to existtribe.com and finding out more about Rob and what he's doing?
Just follow your dreams. I think that's the essence of this whole conversation. Follow your dreams and don't let anybody make those choices for you. So
that's it. That's a great tip. Follow your dreams and don't let anybody make those choices for you. I love that. Love that. All right, guys. Hey, I hope you guys had a good time on the show today. If you did, the only thing I'm asking of anybody today is to go to existtribe.com and check out what Rob's doing with Exist and the sleep products. And I'd love to hear how your sleep is. So tag me on Instagram at the ScuttleButt Show, on send me an email at thescuttlebuttshow@gmail.com, and let me know how you're sleeping. And if you can sleep, if you can't sleep, what are some methods you've tried? Go check out all those resources like the box breathing, the stuff that people dropped in the chat. Go check out all those resources for improving quality of sleep. And if you're ever having a hard time, you can always reach out to me. Rob said he's open for people emailing him at rob@existtribe.com. And there's plenty of other resources out there as well who probably know more than I do, at least, on sleep and mental health. But I'm always here if somebody needs to talk. People hit me up on the gram and online all the time. So with that being said, Rob, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me, Max.
And I look forward to talking to all you guys very soon. And until next time, I am out for now. We are out for now.
Is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.